We are back with Connected Farmer and Mike Zuzolo. We are going to talk about beef prices in the US, also about the US weather and Chinese demand right here on Connected Farmer, your channel to keep you up to date with the latest trends in agriculture and livestock. So, Mike, I think there are a lot of hot topics to talk about right now. I would like to start with weather in the state of Illinois. And I saw some images showing that the dryness is pretty significant over there.
It is, and we see the Illinois crop conditions really opened up, and I think the whole United States crop conditions from USDA Monday afternoon, Luis, opened up and kind of made official the beginning of the U.S. weather market for the corn and bean belt here in the States. Illinois being 50% good to excellent versus 82, and along with that, Iowa being 76% versus 86% a year ago, and Indiana also falling short of last year's numbers for this time in good to excellent conditions in corn. I think really opened the trade's mindset up to the idea that the 181.5 from USDA, the 52 in beans from USDA, those are not made. We're far from making that. Now, having said that, I would say that the pattern that we're seeing right now, where rains have snuck into Iowa, they've snuck into Illinois. I talked to a very good client in South Central Illinois who was among the driest that I've spoken with of my clients, and he got a half an inch shot of rain, and it's really changed his attitude. And areas like Champaign, Illinois, Lafayette, Indiana, some of the driest areas of that part of the country are looking at an inch to an inch and a half of rain coming this Sunday, essentially. So within the next 3 to 4 days, and that would change the dynamic of what the weather market is saying right now. In other words, the clients I work with down there are suggesting it's not too late to have an above average crop if these rains come through. And I think that's really important to keep in mind if you're a weather bull right now, because we still haven't gotten that elusive wheat low in the market, and it's harvest season in wheat. We should have a counter seasonal rally in the wheat because that same weather pattern should have taken off some wheat top end yields in soft red wheat. So my take continues to be if we stay dry, yes, the row crops can rally and continue to fill the gaps in the front end, but we should also have that wheat join us, and then that opens up the upside to the higher levels even more. So really no changes in my analysis right now. It's just the timing aspect of this rain coming through essentially right now, and then that maybe opens up the second half of June for more rains in those dry areas.
Now, that with the rally that we saw on cattle prices last week, how do you think corn and soybeans are reacting market-wise?
Yeah, this is one of those markets now where we've got the equities markets, we've got the hog market, and we've got the feed market, the corn and bean and meal markets, all on the side of the livestock side of prices to go higher. And I think the managed money funds are making hay while the sun is shining, as the old saying goes, by taking this market sharply higher. I think we could actually be in a blow off top type situation, Luis, depending on what the commitment of traders report says here on Friday, that the funds, the managed money commodity funds, were running at about a net long of 108,000 contracts of futures and options in live cattle. The 2019 high is around 155,000. That's my target, essentially, to start hedging, along with a few other targets that I have, kind of lines in the sand, if you will, or bells to be rung. And once I see those happen, I'll start hedging starting in the back end, because the profitability is there. And I'm real concerned that we are losing enough demand and consumption, and the European, Chinese, and U.S. economies are weak enough in the fourth quarter, especially, that we want to get some hedges in place and protect from maybe a recession that could be pretty extensive.
Yes, I read a number about the possible Chinese soybean imports this year that would hit a record of 12 million metric tons. I wonder how would that be possible because everything that we are seeing about China at this point, we are seeing corporations diversifying their operations. Many of them live in China, and the Chinese exports going down significantly in this first quarter. So, and also the first numbers of soybean imports, they are not that great from what we know. So you think that is going to be confirmed?
Yeah, I think you're right on. There is a lack of transparency and fundamentals are not adding up right now in China. And to add to what you just said about the May imports being 12 million tons, that's up 24% versus last year. And as you say, that was a record month. Well, some crushers and traders in China believe that June could be actually 13 million metric tons. And so, yes, their crush margins have improved in some key areas, and yes, their liquidation in the hogs is probably coming to an end, and that's still a question mark as well. But even if it's coming to an end, you've got to wonder how long and for what reason are they buying such an aggressive amount of soybeans? Was it because of last year's crop? Was it because they don't think Brazil's crop is going to be there after all? You know, and these are questions that I think really make Friday's report. Many people have said to me in the media have, well, you know, the June report really doesn't mean much. The May report means more because you get the new crop year numbers. June report this year is going to be extremely important because of South America and what USDA gives us, not only for the Chinese number, but what the Brazil crop numbers are still and Argentina's crop numbers are. And then what kind of carryover do we have for 23-24? Because corn's roughly expected to be 2.2 billion carryover in billion bushels. Top end's 2.4 billion bushels. For beans, the carryover number's 340 million on average. The top end's only 375 million. So I think this report's going to be extremely important in both corn and beans and also the wheat in terms of telling us what the global demand base is, because these numbers, as you say, with China's exports down so much, down 7.5% in the month of May, and the trade was thinking down only about 0.5%. Something is not adding up here, but it was good news, and it supports the beans for now, and maybe keeps the beans from returning to be the leader to the downside.
Now, talking about soybean prices, I've been talking to you and other of my partners that uh, perhaps in the upcoming season in Brazil, the soybean surface would not increase or even could decline. And now some of the analysts down there in Brazil, they are admitting this possibility that it's something that didn't happen for at least the last decade. Do you think that's really possible?
If we have a 52 bushel average yield up here in the States, I do think it's going to be very difficult to be as profitable in Brazil and to take on the political hit and pressure of clearing more rainforest and doing more clear cutting for virgin land. Having said that, though, Luis, I think one of the things we're not catching on to right now is this bilateral trade between both Argentina and China settling in Chinese currency, and also the bilateral trade with Lula and Xi starting last month when Lula went to China and signed some ag deals, and they're doing some trading now in agriculture settled in Chinese yuan. So we may see a situation where these trade blocks are set up in bilateral trade using different currencies than the US dollar actually gives the Brazilians more a competitive edge against the United States. And for that reason, maybe they would want to go after more land because they see a given or a confirmed solid export number that can't be taken away from them, even if US prices go down. So I think we're in a whole nother world right now, economically and from a deglobalization standpoint. That's something I'm really going to be working on the next 6 months.
It was the short-term strategy that you would suggest for corn and soybean growers.
Yeah, I'm still hedging beans above $13. Let the gaps get filled in the lead month corn, lead month beans. And if we can fill those gaps, get some floors underneath you starting in the soybeans. And I don't have a problem with getting some floors underneath you in new crop corn. But if I had only a certain amount of money, I would probably start with the soybeans because the profitability is so much higher, and the price at $13 is so much farther down, farther above my undervalue level of 10.90, whereas my undervalue for December corn is 5.40 area, and I could go down to maybe 5.25, but we even went below that recently at that 5.10, 5.11 level. So I don't see any reason to put a floor underneath you. In fact, I've talked to some clients. If we would pull back again, we may actually buy the Dees corn in the form of calls, kind of like a feeder, to protect the crop insurance price, which is sitting up there around 5.90.
All right. Thank you very much, Mike.
Thanks, Luis, for having me, and have a great week, sir.